Hey everybody, let's do another 30 days of Galactics with my friend Kun Lai. Now, Kun Lai is another one I have in my light code oracle deck that I'm building. She is a Sasquatch, and she is an energy that I met, actually one of my first physical encounters with a galactic type of being, and she's technically earthly, technically like extraterrestrial in a sense, but when I asked my guides, they were like, no, we need you to put Kun Lai into the video. So she is here, and I'm gonna shift here for a second because I've been sitting awkward doing these videos for a few minutes, but okay. So Kun Lai is a Sasquatch, and to be clear, when I say Sasquatch, I communicate with them and they tell me they are Sasquatches. So that is something that Kun Lai has always said. From the moment I met her, she was always like, people do not know when they're seeing a Sasquatch or seeing something else, and Sasquatches get blamed or Sasquatches get feared, all this other stuff, because they don't have the capacity to actually communicate and figure out what they want, what those beings want. So when people go, oh, I saw a Bigfoot or a Sasquatch in the woods, my first inclination is, especially when they go, oh, it chased me, or I did something to make me afraid, I go, okay, well, did you try to talk to it? Do you know what it was? Are you certain it was a Sasquatch? Because there's a lot of stuff around, and many layers of the conscious onion, which is another concept that Kun Lai had taught me years and years ago, was this idea that the earth isn't just one layer of existence, it's an onion. She was like, it's like an onion. The layer she lives on is just vibrationally out of alignment with the physical world that we live on, that we can't see them all the time, and we're shifting, a lot of us are shifting into that higher layer. And so the earth has many layers, and sometimes beings come from those other layers and come to explore our world or go other places vibrationally and exist in those spaces. So it's not always Sasquatches that they see. And she is the one that called me out to the mountains. You'll hear me talk about her a lot when I do my backgrounds and like how I started. She's in my book, and there was a space and time where I was being called to the mountains by Sasquatches, and that's all I knew. I didn't really know much else other than I needed to go to this mountain. I even had a friend who's been doing this work for 60 plus years, and she tapped in and she's like, holy cow, there's a cord pulling you to that mountain, like you need to go there. And so I did, and they told me to cold camp, which was the first time ever, and cold camp means no fire. And I was like, I don't know about that because I've never done it before, but I trusted, and I went out there, and ultimately I had a fire. It was funny because I was in a space where I was trying to trust them, and I had my lighter with me. I had opened the trunk of my car. I had my backpack. I was hiking about 2 to 3 miles into the woods on this mountain to a campsite, which is about a 40-minute to hour walk. And I get to the campsite and I don't have my lighter on me, but I wanted to have a fire, not when they came. I wanted to have a fire just to have a fire out there. And so I ended up having to walk back to find my lighter, because here it turns out I had left it just sitting there on the trunk of the car, and it was sitting there right where I placed it so I couldn't forget it, and they had made me forget it and told me not to go back, but I did anyway, and was still building trust with them, and then went back to my campsite and did the fire thing. But then when they came, I had let the fires start to die out. I was there, I didn't think anybody was coming. I looked up into the sky, saw a flash of light, which I assumed was a UFO, and at the same time I felt 3 energies go poof out of nowhere and come into existence. Kun Lai was off to my left down a path. There was another one off to my right in the bushes, a big warrior defensive energy, and there was something small and young behind me when it happened. And I learned the young one was watching. It was a young Sasquatch who was learning and watching how to interact with humans and that sort of thing. The other one was, they had the like reddish eyes, and they were there to defend and see how I handled things. It was very aggressive energy, but not in a malicious way, but like a defensive warrior space, which made me nervous. It made me very nervous to be there. And then I had my staff in my hand, and Kun Lai kind of told, and she had told me earlier, she's like, I'm going to come down that path, I'm going to walk up, and we're going to have a conversation while I do it, and we're going to take baby steps. And so she would walk a few steps, and I could energetically feel her through the ground before she ever showed up. She'd walk a few steps, and I'd be like, holding my staff, like white knuckled on my staff, because I got 3 of them around, and I'm like, what is going on? These are real. I wasn't expecting this, even though I was, type of thing. And so it was a learning exercise. It was baby steps. Ultimately, they didn't come into camp. They stayed where they were, built trust, and I ended up going back many, many times over the next 6 months to a year. So that happened that was probably April of 2020, May. And then I went back for a year and a half, about, working with her and working through meditation. I'm still connected telepathically to them. I don't talk to them as much, but I went back. She taught me about the conscious onion. I kind of got lost at one point and wanted to turn around when I was on those paths in the woods, and I'm just shifting because I'm on a very uncomfortable picnic bench right now, and I can't put my feet on the ground because there are fire ants, and they just are loving to nibble at things they shouldn't be nibbling at. So I go back, and at one point I go down this trail, and I want to turn around because I feel like I'm lost, and I'm like, I know I'm not lost. I know how to get back, type of thing. But I'm about an hour and a half down the trail, and I don't know if the trail loops back around to where I need to be, or if I'm just getting deeper and deeper and deeper and going to still, like, I don't have camping supplies if I'm going to have to walk that extra length back. And my guides keep saying, no, just keep going. I'm like, I don't know. And they're like, trust. So I keep going down, and a gnome pops out of nowhere, and because they kept telling me, you're going to find water, you're going to find a beautiful water space, beautiful energy. And I finally find this turnoff, and there's this gnome that comes out and runs down. He's like, hey, you're here, come. And there was a portal. There were trees that were bent over, and there was a portal of energy the gnome had come through. And he leads me down, and he goes, hey, you got to follow me. And I follow him, but then he runs into these bushes, and I can hear water. I can hear the water, and I'm like, oh, there's water nearby. But then he runs into these bushes, and he goes, come with me. And I'm like, dude, you're 1.5 feet tall. I'm 6'2". I cannot fit in those bushes. And he's like, oh, yeah. And runs out and takes me to another spot, and we go in. And there's this beautiful creek that comes down off the mountain, and it is just roaring with water. And there are stones you can sit on and meditate on in the middle of the creek. You can like kind of hop your way to them. And just a lot of energy, a lot of good energy, a lot of clean energy down there. Just beautiful, beautiful energy. And then, so the gnome and I talk, and then he goes, oh, she's down there. And he goes off on his own, and I walk down, and Kun Lai is sitting there waiting for me. She's out of phase. I can't see her, but I can feel her with my third eye. And I go and I sit with her on a log, and she teaches me about the conscious onion, which is the idea that the earth is a conscious ball with layers, dimensional layers, and there are many, many layers to it, and places beings can exist in. And then I walk, and she's like, you need food. Whatever you do when you go home, get food, because I hadn't brought enough food with me. I wasn't expecting this hike. I wasn't expecting to go as far as I did, as long as I did. And then to have to hike back up the mountain, because when I hiked an hour and a half down the mountain, and then I had to hike back up. And if you've ever been hiking before, you know the worst thing is to hike down first and then up last. You want to hike up first and down last. And so she's talking to me, and I go, well, there's nothing out here because this is the middle of mountain country. There isn't vegan food. There isn't, at the time I was eating more vegetarian oriented, and I'm like, there's nothing healthy. It's all fast food. I don't want to eat McDonald's. And she goes, no, but you have to. And I went, what? And they're like, my guys were like, you need to eat McDonald's. You need to go get a 20-piece chicken McNugget and just eat the cardboard. Allow yourself to eat it. And even she was like, oh, she knew what McDonald's was because people brought it to the wilderness. And she just like turned her nose up at it and was like, oh, what are you eating that for anyway? Why do humans have that? And that's where I learned that her favorite things were like carrots and lettuce and these different vegetables. And then there was a point in time, like after that, I hiked back up the mountain. I went and got my McDonald's and ate it on the way home. I was still eating fast food occasionally, but I was trying not to. I knew it wasn't for my highest good type of thing. And so she's also the one that, if you hear me talk about the mermaid Ursula was at the lake in the mountains, and I went up there and I sat by the lake on a rock. Ursula swam up to me, greeted me, started talking to me, and Kun Lai walked out of the woods and sat down on a rock, a big rock that was overlooking the lake. And she's huge, and she sits down in like a meditative position. She's energetically there talking to me, and we were laughing because I'm like, aren't you concerned somebody might see you, somebody else? Because there's humans kayaking. There's at one point there's a guy moving his boat and just blaring his radio across this lake that is, like glass. So the sound is just going everywhere. It's super loud. You can feel the irritation. The spirits are irritated. The lake's irritated. I'm irritated. The humans out there are irritated by this guy. And something happened. I forget what happened, but something happened. Like, I think Ursula went out or something and was trying to push him away. And they were like, no, we're not. No, when I asked, aren't you concerned somebody will see you? They go, no, nobody can see us. And then they just started laughing because they're literally standing there. Ursula's there, Kun Lai's there, these different beings, and nobody can see them but me. And it's this magical, beautiful experience of just three friends who are very, very different: a human, a Sasquatch, and a mermaid, just chilling by the side of a lake while nobody else knows on the lake because they're not awake, type of thing. And I don't know, it was just a phenomenal experience with her. And she is one of the beings that you will hear me talk about a lot because she was one of my original teachers. So I'm going to stop it there. I could tell you all kinds of stories about Kun Lai and the Sasquatches, but if you have any questions, let me know. Thank you for watching. If you're enjoying these videos, please remember you can book a spirit art reading, purchase an adopt a spirit, or donate on my website to help support them in my journey. And this was Kun Lai the Sasquatch. This again is a light code to help activate people to Sasquatch energies and other things. Peace, and I can't read my notes on it right now. Yeah, I'm gonna have to get a magnifying glass. I wrote so small, but when the oracle cards come out, there are different keywords and stuff they have with them. So I appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you. Grateful for all of you. Love you all.